Welcome to the fastest stop in town. Today we're going to start this Yoma daf Ayin Aleph. We're going to begin on the very bottom of Ayin Amud Beis, the third to last line. Kiddush Yadav Rago. So Tanabah, the pasuk says Va'aron el Ohel Moed. It says that Aaron, the Kohen Gadol, went back into the Ohel Moed, or specifically into Kodesh Kodashim. So Lamahu Ba. Why did he go back? He had to take the kafna machta out of the Kodesh Kodashim, in which was used for the Chfinas HaKataris. As we continue to Ayin Aleph, Amud Aleph, Shekola Parsha Kula Nirmal Seder. The entire parsha was in order, Chutz me pasuk Zeh, with the exclusion of this pasuk. Now, my taima, what is the reason why we have to read it in this way? Because we know that Omer of Chisda Gemiri, there was a tradition. The Chamish Tfilos v'Asar Kiddushin Toivel Kohen Gadol Umekadish Bo B'Yoyim. That on Yom Kippur there was 5 times the Kohen Gadol went into the mikvah, and 10 times before and after the mikvah he had to wash his hands and feet, which implies that he was switching from the Big Day Lovin to the Big Day Zav, or vice versa, 5 times. Now V'Iyamr Kisidra and Ksive, if it's actually in the order, then Lo Mishkach Slo El Shosh Tfilos, the Shisha Kiddushin. He would have just had his Big Day Zahav. He would have done the avoda of the Big Day Lavan, doing the applications, the par and the sire, as well as the Chfinas HaKataris and the removal of the kaf and the machta right then. And then afterwards he would just put on his Big Day Zahav for the Musa, for the Tamid Shel Ben Arbayim. So then it would only end up being 3, not 5 switches. We know there's 5, so it must be that he had to put on his Big Day Lavan another time in order to go back into the Kodesh Kodashim to remove the kaf and the machta. Maskul Rab Zeru. So Rab Zeru asks a question. He says, "V'dilma masik b'sir hanas b'chutz." Maybe the separation is so that he could go and do the sa'ir, which was done on the outside, and that needed to be in Big Day Zahav. So Rabbi Omer Krav Yatsa, he went out the Yatsa Solasai, and he did the Oila. Mitzir Rishayna of it. He already did this from the first time. The first time he was already wearing it for Big Day Zahav. Elu of El Ha'am, namely, this is referring to El Ha'am. This is done after leaving the Kodesh Kodashim, so therefore he changes his beged. Rabbi Omer Kra Upashat es Big Day Habad. The pasuk says he removes his clothes. Doesn't have to say the clothes that he wore. That seems obvious. After all, Klum Adam Poishin El Mashal Labush. Is a person able to remove clothes if he's not wearing it? Obviously he's wearing it. It means that he wore it already. Question 13. Ksiv Gami Hoitzas Kafamachta Baron Upashat his Big Diabad Asher Lavash. A Mike Siv Asher Lavash. Kumana Poishin El Mashal Loivash. So it means that he was already once before wearing the Big Day Lavan, and he has to go and put on his Big Day Lavan again. He says, "V'shmamina sheish hafsakas chilaf begadim bein avodas hayom ha'etzas kaf u'machta." So maskevlo Rabba Barav Shila the ema the mafsik le b'sir hanas b'chutz. So he said maybe it's referring to the separation of the sir hanas b'chutz. Haksir b'yatzav yasa. So he said no, that the pasuk says b'yatzav that he already did it. B'chol parsha kul and nemer al seder. So we're saying that the whole parsha is in order. The pasuk says regarding the fats of the chatos that you're makdired on the mizbeach, the hadr, and afterwards the pasuk is ves par chatos. It talks about burning it b'chutz. The esar chatos. Now the ilu on the Tanakh, we know that we learned Charoyes Kohen Gadol kashu kairei, one who is seeing the Kohen Gadol while he's reading the sections of the Torah in a roy par b'sar hanisrafim. He's not able to see the burning of the par in the sar because we said it is happening simultaneously. Now the ilu imuri chatas basar hachi maktaluhu. If we're talking about the sacrificial parts that happened afterwards, so how could it be that you're burning it at this particular time? So maybe it just means not this, because you're right, this pasuk is also out of order. So my chaz is the mishtabish is kroi, shabish masnisa. Why do we want to change or say that the pasuk is incorrect? Why don't we just say that our teaching is incorrect? So Rabbi Omer Kra, because the pasuk says V'mashaleach, the one who sends, the Sairi, Ma Mishaleach, just like the one who sends the seer out, Dimikara, he did it first. Sairif, so to one who burns the Dimikara, it's done first. The other Rabbi, Maser, the Hashda, Mishaleach the Hashda, maybe it's the opposite. There should be now. So the Hamishaleach, Dimikara Mashma. The Hamishaleach, the person who was sent previously, is what it's mashma. Rabbi Amar Makra, the pasuk says regarding the Sair, Yomad Chai. So I must say he's Zokak L'Amad Chai. How long is it necessary that it should still remain alive? At Shas Kapara, until the time of achieving atonement. The Yamasai Shas Kapara, when is that? But Shas Matan Damim B'Suloi. It's the time of the Matan Damim and not more than that. Then, which means then it's sent away. So there's no way we can keep the Sir around for this later stage. Also, Mishaleach Matzav B'Shukal Kohen Gadol Armelo Ishi Kohen Gadol, my master Kohen Gadol, Asinu Shalech Tucha, you've done that which was your service. Matzav B'Beis, so he goes to his house. Armelo Mechai Chaim Asinu Shlichuso, you've done exactly what you were supposed to do. So Rabba Ki Mifti Rabbanim Hadadi Mepomadisa, whenever they would separate from one another from Pomadisa, Amar Hachi Mechai Chaim Yitin Chaim Aruchim V'Toivim U'Mesukanim, which is a nice bracha that was given. Look in Rashi. Rashi says Rabbi Omer Lo Matzas Amar Shiluach Ser Loivim Kaimo Nemar, that's not in its place. To Halo Hiskiku Lamoid Sham El Ad Shas Kapara, as we said, you only need to keep it around until the time of the Kapara. V'hi Avodas Hayom Damatan Damim, which is when the application of the Dam was, and we're not going to keep it longer. Okay. The Mechai Chaim, one who gives life, Rashi says, is Hu HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Amar Rabbi Lezer, Eilu Shenaisav Shel Adam, this is the years of a person, Hamis Hachleis Alav Mira L'Taiva, that it changes from them from bad to good. It says Rashi, Misha Haya Ani B'Yaldusai, someone who's poor at the time when they were younger, V'nasa Asher Le'esik Nasai, and becomes wealthy when he's older. Darmlo Kilu Achshav Nasa Chaim Yitech Misa, it's Kilu like he became alive from death. Aleichem Ishim Ekra, so he called out to men. So Amar Barachia Elu Talmidei Chachamim, he says this is referring to the Talmidei Chachamim, Shedaimim L'Nashim. In certain ways, they're comparable to women. What does that mean? Says Rashi, because anava nasin to shushe koyach, because they're humble and they are not as physically strong. But they're given power just like men. Someone who wants to put wine on the mizbeach, yamali gorainam shel tamid chachamim yain. You should fill up the throats of the tamid chachamim with wine. Shenemar aleichem leishim ekra b'yamar brachia imroi adam shetara poisekes mizaroi. If let's say you see some Torah that's stopping from your children, yisabas tamid chacham, you should have marry the daughter of a tamid chacham. Shenemar im yaskin ba'aretz, if you grow old on the land, sharsho is its roots, with afar yomos gizai, and from the dirt the trunk will have wilted. Let's look ksiv at question TB 26. Ksiv aleichem ishim ekra, mal loshen ishim eitzel tamid chachamim. Did I get this question right? I got it half correct. So the answer, as we saw, is that it's ki'ishim, they're like women, that they're humble and weak, or it's a lashon of a carbon isha, like ishel Hashem, which means that it's comparable that their drinking is daimel when nisach yayin agam mizbeach. So if you give a cup of wine to a Talmid Chacham, it's like doing nisach yayin on the mizbeach. And let's see which one I got right in question 26. I only got half credit on this. They're weak like women, and I wrote like Malchus Sharetz, which is not correct. Okay. That was TB 26. Okay. Continue. So the pasuk says, "Im yaskim aretz sharshuv offer yamusu gizais." We continue on off on the base. Then the pasuk says, "Meireach mayim yafriach." From the smell of the water, it will sprout forth Torah. The oisa katsir kamo nata, and it will harvest the sapling. So again, this is alluding to the fact that if you do not have Torah, so if you marry a bas tamid chacham, then you'll be zeicha the Torah. V'yomtiv shehaya oisel above. So when the Kohen Gadol left, everyone made a big party. Everyone was so happy. Yom Kippur, everyone achieved kapara. Tanurban amasa b'Kohen Gadol echad. Shiatz mebeis hamikdash. She left the beis hamikdash. V'aviyatzi kol yalma basrei. Everyone was following the Kohen Gadol. Kibon dechayzinu shama ve'avtalyon. Once they reached the great of Shema Avtalyon, Shabkul Ladidei, people stopped following the Kohen Gadol. Yazdi Basar Shema Avtalyon. They started following Shema Avtalyon, the great sages of their generation. L'soif Asar Shema Avtalyon, V'afturi Mina the Kohen Gadol. So Shema Avtalyon were about to take leave from the Kohen Gadol. Armul Lahen Yesun B'nei Amamin Lishlam. You B'nei Amamin should go in peace. It sounds nice, except when he says the words that he called Shema Avtalyon B'nei Amamin, that is referring to, as Rashi says, Lashon Ganai. They were disgracing them. He was disgracing them. So they were Gerim. Shema Avtalyon were Gerim because they came from Sancherev, and they were speaking disrespectfully to them. Sarmalei, they said back to him, Yesun B'nei Amamin, let us, people who are converts, Lishlam, we should go in peace. Diavdin Uvde to Aharon, because we act in accordance of Aaron. As Rashi says, Aaron was a Roidef Shalom. Below Yesi Bar Aharon, not you, the descendant of Aaron, you the Kohen Gadol, Lishlam, you will not go in peace. Do Avid Uvde to Aaron, because you're not acting like a Bnei Aaron. Next Mishnah. Kohen Gadol Meshamish V'Shmainu Kalim V'Hedyot Ba'arba. We know the Kohen Gadol wears 8 garments, the Kohen Hedyot wears 4. What are the 4? A shirt, pants, hat, and a belt. The Kohen Gadol wore an additional 4 garments. The Chayshin, which had the Urim V'Tumim in it, the Ephod, the Me'il, and the Tzitz, which is a golden headband. The Eil Nishalin, Urim V'Tumim, people would ask the Urim V'Tumim on the Kohen Gadol. The Nishalin El Melech Beistin, you had to be a very important person to ask these questions, and you couldn't just ask some random question. It has to be Lamisha Tzibur Tzarachol, some type of communal need. Tanabah, Devarim Shneber Sheish. Whenever it says in the Torah the word Sheish, 6, it's referring to Chutan Kofel Shisha, that the string should be 6 ply. Mashzar, when it says that's Mashzar, like Sheish Mashzar, Mashzar is Shmoina 8 ply. Il is Shnei Maser 12 ply. Paraiches, as well as the Avnate, Esrim Ba'arba, 24 ply string. The Chayshin and the Ephod, Esrim Shmoina, the Chayshin and the Ephod was Esrim Shmoina 28. Okay. Chutin Kofel Shishim Manon. The question is, how do we know that the strings were 6? So do you ever craw? Because the pasuk says Sheish a whole bunch of times. The answer is that Kusen is Sheish. The answer is that Sheish. The Param is not Hamikvoi Sheish. The answer is about Sheish Marsar. So Chamish Kroi Ksivi. There's actually 5 times this is mentioned. Right? The answer says Sheish, or says Sheish, Sheish. This is about Sheish Marsar. That says Sheish. So Chamisha Kroi Ksivi. Chad Lagufe the Kisnanin Nahabi. That it should be made out of linen. V'chad Shiyu Choitin Kofel Shisha. Is actually question 14. L'may Itzrach Oi Dalad Pamim. Why do you need another 4 times that it needs to say the word Sheish? So these are the answers. First of all, that it's supposed to be made out of linen. It's supposed to be Avachad shehi chutin kafel shisha. It needs, each thread should be 6 ply. V'chad shiu shizurin. They need to be spun together as one thread. V'chad l'shar begadim shul nemer and sheish. Even if it doesn't say sheish, that's the requirement. V'chad l'akev, it must be this way. So my mashna hay sheish kisnahu. How do you know the word sheish is referring to linen? So I'm Rabbi Yosef Rabbi Chanina Yermer Kra. The pasuk says bad. What does that mean? Davar ha'oilam min hakarka, something comes from the ground, which is bad bad. Individual stalks without branches, which is linen. The ima amra, maybe it could be wool, which also is individual. So amra, when it comes to wool, is sule misila. It splits apart. Kis denami is sule misil. What do you mean? Linen also could split apart. Yeah, but kisna, linen, agav, lakuse mifsil. You need to actually bang it in order to split apart. The pasuk says, Pari pishtim, which is sheish, which is linen, you al roishim mechnes pishtim, you al masnehem should be on the pants. Rabbi Ashi, ha mikamed asi Yecheskel. Before Yecheskel came, so man amr, how do we know this? Right? This is taken from Yecheskel. 1 second. You're going to say that type of questioning. You could ask other questions. We learn from the Sefer Yecheskel the following pasuk: Kol ben nechar orel leiv, orel basar lo yava el mikdashan l'shar seni. Anyone who is a ben nechar, Rashi says shenis nachur masa lavim shemashmayim shu orel leiv. That's someone who's an orel leiv, someone that does not do the mitzvahs properly, or Rashi says v'chein orel basar shemesu achal makmas mila. His brother died because of mila. Lo yava al mikdash. These people cannot enter. How do we know this before Yecheskel? The reality is we already knew this, but we now use this pasuk as support. So so too when it came to the exact way of making this linen sheish, even though that's what it was, now we use this pasuk to support it. So sheish we said was 6. Mashzar shmoin is 8 ply. Menon, how do we know that? So we know that it was pomegranates of tcheles v'argman v'tolah shani mashzar. V'yolav mashzar mashar miparoiches. We went up from the paroiches. Maluhol and esrim v'arba. Just like when it came to the paroiches, it was 24. So afkan esrim v'arba. So too it's 24. Why? The habi kol chad v'chad tamane. Because each one was 8. So the question is, why is that? Because the avnate we know was made of 4 garments. All right. So as we're going to see, the avnate rather is made out of 4 materials. The 3 types of wool, blue, purple, and red, and also one which is linen. So the avnate had 4 materials. Each one was 6 ply, and therefore the avnate was 24. But since the Rimonim was only made out of the 3 types of wool, not linen, so the 24 were divided by 3, making it 8 per strand. So therefore mashzar is 8 ply. So Avkan Esrim ve'arba dehavikol chad v'chad tamani, each one of them was 8. V'neil v'mechayshin ve'efoid malon esrim v'shmoina Avkan esrim v'shmoina. Why don't we say that it's actually not 20 or 8 ply? Why don't we say just like the chayshin ephod that it should be 28 ply? So dan and davar shlo nemer by zahav, medavar shlo nemer by zahav. The paroiches doesn't say zahav. Lafuki chayshin ephod nemer behen zahav. So since we'd rather compare it to that which doesn't say gold, so therefore we compare it rather to the avnei. Adarabah, done begin the begin. Lafuki paroiches do'oilhu. Why would you learn out from the paroches? Ella, as we said over here, done in avnei. We learn out mashzar from the avnei. The done in beged, the davar shlo beged, the avnei was a beged. The davar shlo nemer bo zaha, the beged, the davar shlo nemer bo zaha. So therefore we learn out from again the avnei, as we said. in davar she'ein bo zaha, davar sheish bo zaha. Ramari Omer Kasenu ksiv, Kasenu l'zeh v'lo l'acher. Fine. Ravashi Omer v'yasisa ksiv, shiu kol asiyo shavos. They ought to be the same. Vehechi navi, how do you do that? Navid tlasa, do 3, the asara asara, 10, Havilu tlasin, which is 30. Nevid trey, the tisha, do 2, 9, V'chad the asara, and 11. So Omer one which is 10. So Omer Kra, Yasisa shu kol asiya shavos. So it's 28. And 28 is not divisible by 3, so therefore it must instead be the Avne, which is 8 times 3, which is 24. Let's see if we have perhaps a couple more questions. Question 14. Yasis is a kasainas sheish, that's miknas the abad sheish mashar. So we want to learn out the mashar from the praiches, we ended up learning out from the Avne, which is also a beged. So he said, why do we need these extra psukim? So he said, either, first of all, is a gufa that's linen, and then to tell you that it has to be 6 ply, also has to be spun as one, even other garments that doesn't say the word sheish, and also that it is ma'akev. Question 24. Kama minin v'kama chutin hayu ha'me'il. How many strings is the me'il? And that we said very top over here. That the me'il was shneim aser, was 12. Let's look over here. This is question 24. Hami'il min echad kofel shneim aser chutin. It was doubled of 12 strings. 12 strings. Harimonim shloishim minim, and the rimonim went 3. Kofel shmoinim mehen esrim ba'arba, and therefore it was 8 times 3. Adkan.